Welcome, traveler. We're glad you're here. Every story you hear is made with care and passion. If you enjoy it, please like, subscribe, and check out the other adventures waiting for you on our channel. Your support means the world. Thank you. We hope you enjoy the story. Rodriguez is dead. The transmission crackled through layers of static, a woman's voice tight with barely controlled terror. Emergency lighting strobed in the background, casting wild shadows that danced with each flicker. They came through the bulkhead 3 minutes ago. Energy weapons. Our own weapons. The Kethvar, Martinez is gone. Thompson's gone. They're hunting us deck by deck. A metallic shriek echoed through the comm, hull plating being torn apart by something. Powerful, the woman's breathing quickened. This is Lieutenant Sarah Chen, UES Prometheus, Deck 12 Engineering. If anyone's receiving this... Another shriek, closer now. If anyone's out there, listen carefully. The Kethans turned on us, all of them, across the entire fleet. They waited until we were in deep space, then the sound of energy discharge. A man's scream, cut short. Oh God, they found Morrison's team. We're the last ones. Maybe 6 of us left in the sealed section. They're cutting through the emergency door now. I can see the metal glowing. Sparks showered somewhere in the background. The woman's voice dropped to a whisper. We saved them. We pulled their entire species back from extinction, and this is how they repay us. Don't trust them. Don't ever trust the sound of tearing metal. Multiple footsteps. Alien voices chittering in the darkness. They're through. This is our final transmission. To anyone who finds this record, the Kethan Empire has betrayed humanity. They've taken our ships, our weapons, everything we built to protect the galaxy. If you're human and you're listening to this, remember what they did to us. Remember, energy, weapons discharged. The woman screamed once, then silence. The transmission continued for 37 more seconds, just the sound of alien footsteps walking away, leaving the dead behind in the darkness. 2,847 years later. There it is again. Dr. Sarah Martinez leaned forward, adjusting the radio telescope's frequency with practiced precision. The Arecibo successor station hummed quietly in the Puerto Rican night, its massive dish tracking something impossible in the depths of space. Same pattern? Asked her assistant, David Kim, peering at the cascade of data streaming across their monitors. Identical. Every 847 years, like clockwork. Sarah's fingers danced across the keyboard, isolating the signal from the cosmic background. Noise, but this time it's stronger, much stronger. The signal pulsed through their speakers, a complex rhythm that seemed almost organic, almost familiar. It's not random, David muttered, running pattern analysis. Look at this structure. It's like... Sarah, this looks like genetic sequencing. That's impossible. Genetic material doesn't broadcast across interstellar space, unless someone wanted it to. Sarah stared at the screen. The signal was definitely artificial, definitely structured, and buried within its mathematical framework was something that made her skin crawl with recognition. David, run this through. The Human Genome Database. What? Why would... Just do it. 20 minutes later, David's face had gone white. Sarah, this isn't just genetic material. It's human genetic material, specifically encoded with Earth markers. The room fell silent except for the steady hum of computers processing the impossible. There's more, David whispered. The signal is layered. Multiple data streams embedded within the genetic code. Sarah, I think this is a message. From other humans. Sarah's hands trembled as she began the decoding process. Layer by layer, the signal revealed its secrets. First came coordinates, a location deep in the Veil Nebula. Then came technical specifications for communication protocols. And, finally, buried deepest of all, came the records. The massacre aboard the UES Prometheus was just the beginning. The records, personal log, Admiral James Harrison, UES Olympus. Final entry. The voice that emerged from their speakers was steady, But Sarah could hear the weight of defeat behind every word. The Kethans have taken 90% of our fleet. Our own crews turned on us, beings we trusted, beings we saved from the Zerath extinction event 50 years ago. They coordinated across hundreds of ships simultaneously. Our own weapons, our own tactical knowledge, turned against us. Static crackled. Then Harrison's voice returned, more strained. The civilian evacuation is complete. 7 million souls aboard transport ships, heading for coordinates I pray the enemy will never find. We've loaded them with everything: genetic, databases, cultural archives, technical specifications. If humanity survives anywhere, it will be with them. An explosion echoed in the background. Harrison's voice quickened. The Kethans offered terms: surrender and face relocation. We know what that means. Complete extermination, just like they did to the Zerath once they had no more use for them. But they fear us too much to simply kill us outright. They know what we're capable of when we're desperate. Another explosion, closer this time. If anyone finds this record, know this: we fought for the liberation of the galaxy. Every species under Kethan rule, the Altarians, the Centauri Republic, the Vegan Collective, they're all slaves in everything but name. The Kethans rule through fear and manipulation, playing species against each other while they harvest resources and manpower. The sound of tearing metal filled the transmission. They're through the bridge shields. This is Admiral Harrison. Final log. To the survivors in the Veil, humanity's exile begins now. But remember, we don't stay down. We never stay down. Find the dimensional vaults. Earth holds the key. Energy weapons discharged. The transmission ended. Sarah stared at the screen in shock. David, how many more records are in this signal? Hundreds. Ship logs, personal messages, tactical data. Sarah, according to this, the war ended with humanity's complete defeat. But these coordinates? The Veil Nebula. Someone out. There is still broadcasting. Then we need to answer. First contact. The response came 18 hours later. Terra Base. This is Admiral Elena Vasquez, speaking for the Free Human Fleet. We've been waiting 847 years for this signal. Sarah nearly dropped her coffee. David grabbed the microphone with shaking hands. Admiral, this is Dr. Sarah Martinez at the Arecibo station. We've decoded your beacon. We know about the war. We know about the betrayal. A pause. When Vasquez spoke again, her voice carried the weight of centuries. Dr. Martinez, what's Earth's current population? 9 billion, give or take. 9 billion. A sound that might have been laughter or weeping. Do you know what you are, Dr. Martinez? You're the largest prison population in galactic history. Earth isn't your homeworld. It's your cage. The words hit like physical blows. Sarah felt the room spinning around her. That's impossible. We evolved here. The fossil record was planted. The physics you think are immutable, the speed of light, faster than light travel being impossible, those are artificial constraints. The Kethans have been manipulating local space-time around your solar system for almost 3 millennia. You've been living in a carefully constructed zoo. David's voice cracked. Why? Because they're terrified of you. Terrified of what 9 billion awakened humans could accomplish. Dr. Martinez, your species once liberated half the galaxy. The Kethan Empire has spent 3,000 years making sure you never remember who you really are. Sarah's mind reeled. The evacuation ships? Your descendants of the survivors? 7 million souls became 7 billion over the centuries. We've been living in the deep nebulae, preparing, watching, learning everything we can about the empire that betrayed us. We know their weaknesses, their supply lines, their internal politics. We've been waiting for the right moment to strike back. Why now? Because now we have something we've never had before. You. Earth doesn't just hold 9 billion people, Dr. Martinez. It holds the dimensional vault keys. The Kethans couldn't destroy them without risking destabilizing local space-time, so they hid them on Earth. Your planet is simultaneously the galaxy's largest prison and its most powerful armory. The awakening, the first sign that reality was breaking, came 3 days later. Dr. James Wright, working on experimental fusion drives at MIT, watched in stunned silence as his reactor began producing impossible energy outputs. The plasma contained within his magnetic bottles was behaving according to different physical laws than it had the day before. In Geneva, the Large Hadron Collider detected particles moving faster than light. At NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, an experimental engine designed to push against space-time itself suddenly activated, generating thrust that shouldn't have been possible. Around the world, physics was changing. Sarah stood in the emergency command center that had been hastily established at the United Nations. Representatives from every major nation filled the room, their faces showing the same mixture of terror and wonder that she felt. "Ladies and gentlemen," said Secretary General Patricia Chen, "we are not alone. And according to our newfound allies, we never have been." The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Vasquez's weathered face. Behind her, Sarah could see the bridge of what was clearly an advanced starship. "People of Earth," Vasquez began, "your exile is ending. For 3,000 years, the Kethan Empire has kept you prisoner on your own world, feeding you lies about physics and your place in the universe. Today, those lies begin to crumble." Gasps filled the assembly hall as the implications sank in. "You are the descendants of humanity's greatest generation, the species that once liberated a third of the galaxy from tyranny. Your ancestors saved entire civilizations from extinction, only to be betrayed by those they rescued. The Kethans used our own compassion against us, embedding their people within our crews, learning our weaknesses, then striking when we were most vulnerable." Sarah watched as world leaders struggled to process the revelation. "But they made one mistake," Vasquez continued. "They let you survive. 9 billion humans raised in isolation, protected from the corruption of empire. You represent something the galaxy hasn't seen in millennia, pure human potential, untainted by political compromise or imperial ambition." The screen shifted to show massive structures emerging from dimensional rifts around Earth, sleek warships with designs that were unmistakably human, yet far beyond current technology. "The dimensional vaults are opening. These ships have been waiting for you, hidden in folded space-time, protected by keys that only Earth's children could activate. Your planet wasn't just a prison, it was a treasure vault." President Morrison of the United States leaned forward. "What do you want from us?" "What we've always wanted," Vasquez replied. "Freedom, not just for humanity, but for every species, currently suffering under Kethan rule. The Empire has grown complacent over the centuries. They believe humanity is contained, neutralized. They're about to learn how wrong they are." "And if we refuse?" asked Prime Minister Okafor of the African Federation. Vasquez's expression hardened. "Then you remain prisoners forever. The Kethans will never release you. They can't risk it. Earth's population must either join us in liberation or remain under eternal surveillance." Sarah felt the weight of history pressing down on the room. 9 billion lives hung in the balance, along with the fate of civilizations they'd never even known existed. "What's your plan?" asked Secretary General Chen. "Simple," Vasquez smiled grimly. "We're going to finish what our ancestors started. We're going to liberate the galaxy." The fleet awakens. The first human ship to break the light barrier in 3,000 years was the UES New Prometheus, captained by Dr. Sarah Martinez herself. She'd volunteered for the test flight, driven by a mixture of scientific curiosity and personal connection to the original Lieutenant Chen, whose final transmission had started everything. As the ship's newly awakened drive systems engaged, Sarah felt reality bend around her. The stars didn't streak past. They folded, bringing distant space within reach. In seconds, she'd traveled from Earth to the outer system, a journey that should have taken hours. Admiral Vasquez, she radioed. "The drive systems are fully operational. We're reading normal space-time throughout the system." "Confirmed, Dr. Martinez. The Kethan manipulation field has collapsed completely. Your solar system is free." Behind them, Earth bristled with activity. Millions of humans were volunteering for the Liberation Fleet, while others worked frantically to prepare their homeworld for potential retaliation. The dimensional vaults had revealed not just warships, but industrial fabricators capable of equipping humanity for interstellar warfare. But it was the message from the Altarian underground that changed everything. "Human fleet, this is Commander Thys of the Altarian Resistance. We've been monitoring Kethan communications. They're mobilizing their entire battle fleet, 12,000 vessels, to retake Earth and eliminate your species permanently. Admiral." Vasquez's face appeared on Sarah's screen, grim but determined. "Dr. Martinez, how quickly can Earth's population be combat-ready?" "The volunteers are learning fast. Our new ships are intuitive to operate, almost like they were designed for human neural patterns. But 12,000 ships will face the combined might of free humanity," Vasquez finished. 7 billion from the hidden fleets, 9 billion from Earth, and every oppressed species in the galaxy who's been waiting for someone strong enough to challenge the Empire. Sarah watched through her viewports as more ships emerged from the dimensional vaults. Massive dreadnoughts, sleek fighters, and something that defied classification. Vessels that seemed to exist partially outside normal space-time. "Admiral, what exactly did our ancestors build?" "Everything they needed to ensure freedom could never be permanently destroyed." "Dr. Martinez, you're about to see what humanity can accomplish when we stop fighting each other and start fighting for each other." The first liberation, the Altarian system, had been under Kethan rule for over a millennium. 3 billion reptilian humanoids toiled in massive mining operations, their entire civilization reduced to resource extraction for the Empire. Kethan. Overseers governed from orbital platforms, confident in their technological superiority and the passive nature of their subjects. They were completely unprepared for what emerged from hyperspace. The human liberation fleet materialized in perfect formation, 500 ships ranging from nimble fighters to massive carriers. At their head flew the UES Olympus, Admiral Vasquez's flagship, its hull bearing the same name as Admiral Harrison's final command. Kethan Fleet, this is Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Free Human Alliance. You have 5 minutes to evacuate this system peacefully. Any attempt to harm the Altarian population will result in your immediate destruction. The response was predictable. Kethan Commander Szeth's voice dripped with contempt as it reached the human fleet. "Impossible. The humans are contained on Earth. This is some primitive deception." "Commander Szeth," Vasquez replied calmly, "your information is 3 days out of date. The exile is over. The Kethans opened fire first, a mistake they didn't live to regret." Human weapons technology had advanced considerably during their hidden centuries. While the Kethans still used the crude energy weapons they'd stolen from humanity's ancestors, the Liberation Fleet deployed sophisticated particle beams that could adjust their frequency to penetrate any shield configuration. The battle lasted 11 minutes. Sarah, coordinating the medical ships, watched in awe as Kethan vessels were systematically disabled rather than destroyed. "Admiral, why aren't we just eliminating them?" "Because we're not them, Dr. Martinez. We're liberators, not conquerors." As the last Kethan ship surrendered, something unprecedented happened. The Altarian population, watching from their world, below began transmitting a single message across all frequencies. "Thank you." Commander Thys's voice crackled with emotion as he spoke for his people. "In 11 centuries of Kethan rule, we never dared hope for freedom. Humans, your ancestors' reputation preceded you, but we thought it was legend." "It was never legend," Vasquez replied. "It was promise, and promises kept are what separate civilization from barbarism." Response. The Kethan response was swift and merciless. Within hours of the Altarian liberation, 12,000 Kethan warships under the command of Supreme Admiral Koreth launched from their strongholds throughout the galaxy. Their destination, Earth. They intend to make an example, reported Commander Lisa Park from the intelligence ship UES Vigilant. Intercepts suggest they plan to bombardment Earth from orbit, then display the destruction across every world in the Empire. Admiral Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Olympus, studying tactical displays that showed the approaching enemy fleet. The numbers were sobering. 12,000 veteran warships against humanity's hastily assembled force of 2,000. Admiral, Sarah's voice came over the comm from Earth. The volunteers are requesting permission to engage. 9 billion people want to fight for their freedom. Granted. But Sarah, they need to understand what we're asking of them. Sarah's response carried the determination of an entire world. Admiral, we've been unconscious prisoners for 3,000 years. Death in battle beats life in chains. The fleet that rose to meet the Kethans was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships crewed by humans who had never seen space before fought alongside veterans who had spent centuries preparing for this moment. Former scientists and teachers manned weapons systems, while farmers and engineers coordinated complex fleet maneuvers. But it was the Altarians who provided the key tactical advantage. "Human fleet," Commander Thys transmitted. "We've been monitoring Kethan communications for centuries. Their shield frequencies, their formation weaknesses, their command protocols. We know them all." The Battle of Earth began at the edge of the solar system, as humanity's advanced forces engaged the Kethan vanguard near Neptune. The initial exchanges seemed to favor the Empire. Their ships were larger, their crews more experienced. Then the trap sprung. Hidden throughout the system were the dimensional vault ships, vessels that existed partially outside normal space-time. As the Kethan fleet advanced, these ghost ships materialized within their formations, firing from impossible angles before vanishing again. "What are those things?" Supreme Admiral Korath demanded as his fleet began taking casualties from enemies that barely seemed to exist. His answer came from Admiral Vasquez herself. "The future, Admiral. The technology your empire tried so hard to suppress. The tide turned when the liberated worlds began arriving. The Altarians came first. Their resistance movement transformed overnight into a liberation fleet. Then came the Centauri Republic, their sleek vessels adding speed and maneuverability to the human formations. The Vegan Collective brought their massive industrial ships, converted into mobile fortresses. Within hours, the galaxy's oppressed species were converging on Earth, not to conquer, but to stand with humanity against the empire that had enslaved them all. Supreme Admiral Korath found himself facing not 1,200 human ships, but 5,000 vessels representing dozens of species, all united in their hatred of Kethan tyranny. "This is impossible," he transmitted to his fleet. "The humans were contained. They were isolated." "You contained our bodies," Admiral Vasquez replied, "but you could never contain our ideals. Freedom is contagious, Admiral, and the cure for tyranny is always the same." Response: The Reckoning. The final confrontation took place not in space, but on the bridge of Supreme Admiral Korath's flagship, the KES Retribution. Korath had surrendered after watching his fleet systematically disabled by the liberation forces. Now he stood before Admiral Vasquez, his compound eyes reflecting a mixture of defiance and fear. "You cannot hold the galaxy," he hissed. "The Kethan Empire has ruled for 3 millennia. We are stability. We are order." "You are fear," Vasquez replied calmly. "Fear dressed up as order, tyranny disguised as stability." Around them, the bridge of the human flagship hummed with activity as liberation forces coordinated the surrender of Kethan's strongholds throughout the galaxy. Species after species was declaring independence, their courage renewed by humanity's. "Return. You saved us," Korath said suddenly, his voice bitter. "The Zirath would have exterminated us completely. We were refugees, dying by the millions, and humanity welcomed us, fed us, gave us purpose." "Yes," Vasquez nodded. "We did." "Then why are you surprised that we took what we could? Survival is the highest law. When the opportunity came to seize power, to secure our future, we took it. Any species would have done the same." Sarah, monitoring from Earth, spoke through the comm system. No, Admiral. Any species ruled by fear would have done the same. Species ruled by hope choose differently. Koreth's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. Hope? You speak of hope while conquering us? We're not conquering you, Admiral Vasquez said quietly. We're offering you the same choice. We offer every species freedom. The Kethan Admiral's eyes widened. You're not going to execute us? We're going to give you exactly what you gave us, Vasquez replied. Exile. She gestured to the tactical display, which showed a small, distant world on the galaxy's rim. Barren, isolated, but habitable. New Kethan. One world, sufficient for your population. No faster than light travel, no contact with other species. You'll have the same choice we had. Learn to live in peace, or live alone forever. Koreth stared at the display in shock. You're giving us a chance to survive? We're giving you a chance to become better than you were, just like someone once gave us. The former Supreme Admiral was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried something that might have been respect. You really are different. From us. Yes, Vasquez agreed. We learned something during our exile that you never did. Oppression doesn't make you strong. It makes you afraid. And afraid people make terrible choices. The new Galaxion year later, Sarah Martinez stood on the observation deck of the UES New Horizons, watching as the first Galactic Council convened in orbit around Earth. Representatives from 47 worlds had gathered to establish the new Galactic Order, a confederation based on voluntary association rather than imperial domination. The Altarians had proposed Earth as the meeting site, arguing that the world that had suffered longest under tyranny should host the birth of freedom. It's remarkable, said Commander Thys, joining Sarah at the viewport. In 1 year, you've accomplished what resistance movements tried to achieve for centuries. Not us, Sarah replied. All of us. Humanity just provided the catalyst. Below them, Earth bustled with activity. The planet that had been a prison for 3 millennia was now becoming the galaxy's diplomatic center. Humans who had never known they were part of a larger universe were learning languages, customs, and technologies from dozens of worlds. Admiral Vasquez deserves most of the credit, Sarah continued. She kept the dream alive for 8 centuries, waiting for the right moment. The right moment or the right people? Sarah considered this. Maybe both. Our ancestors fought for liberation and lost because they fought alone. We fought for liberation and won because we fought together. Admiral Vasquez approached, carrying a datapad with the final tallies from the Galactic referendum. The vote is complete, she announced. Unanimous approval for the Galactic Confederation Charter. 47 worlds, choosing freedom over security. And the Kethans, Sarah asked, settling into their new world. Early reports suggest they're adapting well to simpler lives. Some of their younger generation is even requesting permission to study human philosophy. Sarah smiled. Redemption? Perhaps. Time will tell. Vasquez moved to the viewport, gazing out at the assembled fleet. You know, I spent most of my life planning for revenge. It feels strange to discover that liberation tastes better. What happens now? Asked Commander Thys. Now we do what humans have always done best, Sarah replied. We explore, we learn, we help others do the same, and we make sure that no species ever has to choose between freedom and survival again. As if in response to her words, the communication system chimed with an incoming message from the galaxy's edge. A new species, just discovering faster than light travel, requesting contact with the Confederation. Admiral Vasquez smiled. Dr. Martinez, how would you like to make first contact? Sarah looked out at the stars. No longer distant lights, but destinations waiting to be reached. I thought you'd never ask. The UES New Horizons broke orbit, heading toward the unknown, carrying with it the same message humanity had broadcast for millennia. We come in peace, and we come to help. Behind them, Earth spun quietly in space. No longer a prison, but a beacon. The exile was over. The real journey was just beginning. In the depths of the Veil Nebula, an automated beacon continued its ancient transmission. But the message had changed. This is Admiral Elena Vasquez, speaking for the Free Human Fleet. The exile is over. Humanity has returned to the stars. To any species listening to this broadcast, you are not alone, you are not forgotten, and if you're ready to choose freedom over fear, we're ready to stand with you. The signal pulsed outward, carrying with it the same DNA signature that had connected Earth to its hidden children. But now it carried something else as well. Hope. Across the galaxy, on worlds where tyranny still held sway, resistance movements heard the message and began to plan. The age of liberation had begun, and at its heart stood the species that had learned the most important lesson of all. Freedom shared is freedom multiplied. The galaxy would never be the same.